So once you taken your exam EX200, Red Hat will provide you the certification RHCSA. Red Hat will provide you the certification RHCSA. This exam total consists of 300 marks. In this, pass score 210. You should score 210 to get the certification. It means 210 in a sense it's 70% in this 300 marks. So it's 70%. Okay. And this exam you can take in the two ways. One is you can take this exam from the kiosk. Kiosk are the Red Hat Text Centers. Red Hat Text Centers. The second one, you can take this exam remote. Remote in a sense from the home, office, from any location you can take this exam. But here there is some difference between these two types. If you are taking the exam in the kiosk, you no need to do any kind of exam environment setup. You can simply visit the text center and start writing your exam. But if you are writing the exam in the remote, here you need to do some kind of setup. For that, here you require first USB. Here one USB, here you require, and along with your system camera, here you require one external camera. Okay, one external camera. These are the two things. And once you book your exam in the remote, Red Hat will send you one boot ISO to your registered mail. Whatever the boot ISO they share to your mail, you can download that boot ISO to your local system. Once you downloaded that boot ISO, you need to load that boot ISO into this USB. Once you load it, then attach this this USB to your system and start booting the system with this boot ISO. Okay, then it will provision the exam environment. Here the thing is, before you going to take the exam, first you need to check your system compatibility in the remote. First we need to check the system compatibility. Once your system is compatible to take this exam, then only Red Hat will allow you to take that exam. In case any of the text is failed, like they will connect the different text in this compatibility text, voice text, camera text, microphone text. Okay, everything. Any one object is failed in that, they are not allow you to take this remote exam. So please careful while you are taking the remote exam. And also they will allow only the wired things. If you want to use the mouse or the external keyboard, you can use the wired mouse or wired keyboard. You cannot use anything wireless in your exam. And also, if you are taking the exam remote or the kiosk, there is one common thing, that is you should have the two government ID proofs. Okay, we should have two government ID proofs. Actually, one ID proof is fine, but better you should carry the two government ID proofs, because sometimes one ID proof is failed. Okay, you should have the backup to take your exam. Here they will accept the four government ID proofs in India. One is they will accept the passport, and they will accept your PAN card, they will accept your Aadhaar, and they will accept your driving license. Okay, these are the four ID proofs they will accept. Also, this ID proofs, okay, you should carry the original ID proofs. There is no lamination ID proofs and the Xerox copies or the printed copies. They won't accept anything. Only the original proofs you should carry. Any two ID proofs you can carry here. That's the better. If you have the two ID proofs, that's the better. In case one is failed, you can go with the next one for the verification. Because until you done the verification, they will not allow you inside the exam environment. Okay, they will not allow us inside the exam environment. And your exam total time is 3 hours. The exam total time is 3 hours. In these 3 hours, every 1 hour, we are eligible to take 10 minutes break. But here the 10 minutes break is an optional. If you want, you can request the break to your proctor, then they will allocate the break. And remember that once they allocated the break, this timer will not going to stop. This 3 hours time not going to stop. This 10 minutes break also will count it inside these 3 hours only. Clear with this? Am I clear with this? Or anyone having any questions on this?
Yes, clear.
Now let's try to understand the exam environment. How your exam environment will look like. First, they will give you one host operating system. This is the host operating system. So on top of this host operating system, the very first one here you can find the activities option. In all the Red Hat environments, you can see the same, right? Activities. Once you click on the activities, here it will open one bar like this. So in this you can find the various options, but in those all options here we require only the few options. That is the very first option here you can see the Red Hat icon, Red Hat cap icon. And the second option here you can see the consoles icon. The second option is for the consoles. So like that you can get the Firefox show applications. Okay, and also you can find the terminal in your activities. What is the purpose of this? What is the first one here? Red Hat icon. Red Hat icon. So our question paper is inside this Red Hat icon. Okay, question paper inside this Red Hat icon. And the second one, the next to the Red Hat icon here we can able to see the consoles, right? Here the Red Hat will provide you the two consoles because in your entire exam you are working with the two VMs. Those two VMs consoles they will provide you inside this consoles icon. VM consoles. VM consoles. And here you can get one terminal. The terminal is available in your host operating system. Terminal. These are the three things. Now the very first one, how you can access your question paper here. So once you click on this Red Hat icon, it will open one page like this. So inside this page, the very first one you can see one option that is instructions. Okay, so spend at least 15 minutes time to 10 to 15 minutes time to read the instructions. 10 to 15 minutes time to read the instructions, because in the instructions only you can understand how your exam environment is configured and what are the different VMs you are having in this environment. Okay, what is the container registry and what is the credentials for that container registry, and what is the user is configured to perform this exam. Every information you can find from this instructions. Okay, sorry. So the next to the instructions, here you can find the various links, or you can say these are the topics. Like those links are the topics. Like that you can get the 20 or 21 links are the topics in your exam. It means you can get the 20 or 21 questions. Here for every topic you will get the two options like this, because here they will not specify the any question number. So due to that, here they will provide you the two options. One is an done and the second one is review. These are the two options we can get for the every question. Now this time, how we can access the instructions, how we can read the instructions. Once you click on this instruction option, again the instructions will be open in the different page like this. Again the instructions will be open in the different page like this. So in this instruction page, okay, we can read so many instructions, but in this all instructions we require only few things. That is, once you landed on this page, the very first one here you can see one box like this. In this you can see your node names and the IP address of your node. The total node they will give you in your exam is two nodes. Is the node 1 and the second one is the node 2. Okay, node 1 and the node 2. And along with this node IPs, here you can see the node 1 root user password. In your entire exam, you are using only one user to perform all your actions, that is root user. This node 1 root user password they will provide you inside your instructions. Okay, and along with this, in your exam, you need to answer the 2 container questions. Okay, for that you need to log into the container registry. So that container registry information also, they will provide you inside your instructions. Okay, what is the registry name and the credentials of that registry, username and the password of that registry. This information you can find from your instruction. Once you read this instruction, these are the major 3 instructions here we read. Okay, here we want to read. Once you read these instructions, this time we want to go back from this instruction page. If you scroll down this page, there you can find one option, back. Once you click on this back, again it will land it on this home page. Okay, this is how you can access your instructions. Likewise, if you want to view any question, just click on that question. Again the question will be opened in the different page. Okay, once you read your question, once you're done with your question, you can just come back. Okay, you can just come back, and here whatever the done and the preview, here you are seeing these 2 is for the user confirmation, not for the Red Hat confirmation. Once you're done with this question, for your reference, you can just click on this done. Or if you have any doubt on this, or if you not answer this question, okay, you try to answer this later, then just click on the preview. Right, that is your preference. If you are not selected these options also, it's not an issue. Likewise, every question will be opened in the different page. Once you read the question, there you can find the back option. Once you click on the back, again you will land it on this home page. And this is how you can access your question paper. Am I clear with this? Okay, I hope it's clear, right? Fine. And the next to the Red Hat icon, here we are finding the VM consoles, right? As we discussed, they will provide you the 2 VMs. So for the every VM, they will provide you the console. What is the purpose of this VM consoles here? In your total exam, you will get 20 or 21 questions. Okay, 20 or 21 questions. So 15 questions you need to answer in the node 1. They will give you what is the questions you want to answer in the node 1 and what is the questions you want to answer in the node 2. Here the thing is, first question, in node 1, we should answer in node 1 console. First question in the node 1, we should answer in the node 1 console. Here the first question is configure network. Configure the network. So likewise, first question in node 2, we should answer in node 2 console. Here the first question is require root user password. Root user password, or create the root user password. For this reason, here we require the concepts. First question in the node 1 and the first question in the node 2, we should answer in the node 1 console and the node 2 console. Right, now how you can access these consoles, how you can open these consoles. Once you click on this consoles icon, anywhere of this host operating system, it will open one box like this. So in this box, you can find the 2 options. In your case, one is node 1 and the second one is node 2. One is the node 1 and the second one is node 2. This time I want to visit the node 1 console, or you want to visit the node 2 console. Let's say I want to visit the node 1 console. So once you click on this node 1, again on this same host operating system, it will open another option box like this. This time here you can find the various options like reboot VM, reset VM, rebuild VM, start VM, console VM, okay, start VM, console VM, restart VM. So like these options you can find inside this box. This first what you want to do, first you need to start the VM. Okay, once you started the VM, if you want to visit the console, you can just click on this console VM. Once you click on the console VM, then it will take you through the console, right? This is how you can access your console. So likewise, if you want to access the node 2 console, also the same procedure. Once you click on the node 2, again it will open the same box. Here you need to first start the VM and next console the VM. And here they will provide you the only one terminal, right? See, once you're done with the first question in the console, just close that console, because from there onwards we no longer require the consoles in our system. Once you close the console, now click on the activities, come to the terminal. Once you open the terminal, from the terminal onwards, this is the host operating system terminal, right? From the terminal onwards, here we want to take the SSH connection to log into the VMs. SSH, here the username is the root @ whatever the IP they provided for the node 1, you need to use the IP address, because in the backend the DNS is not configured for the RHCSA exam. For the EX200 exam in the backend, okay, the DNS is not configured. So here you need to use the IP address of the node 1. That's why they given the IP addresses here. They provided the IP addresses inside the instructions page. And also these instructions and every question, whenever you want, you can recap. Whenever you want, you can revisit. So there is no limitation, only one time only you need to visit these instructions, only one time only you can access the question. No, it's not like that. Number of times you can revisit the questions and the instructions. There is no restriction in that. And here in the same host operating system, this is your exam environment. Along with this, in your host operating system, here you can find one message icon like this, one message icon like this. So the proctor will connect you from this message icon. Proctor, online proctor. Okay, proctor will connect you from this message icon. Once you entered inside the exam room, whatever the system you are seeing, that is the host operating system. Whether that could be your laptop or that could be the text center system. That is the host operating system. That system by default it is the Linux system, right? So once the proctor is connected, the proctor will walk you through the different guidelines in the exam. In that, the very first guidelines is they will ask you to show your ID proof. Once your ID is successfully verified, later they will ask you to do the room scanning. Okay, they will ask you to do the room scanning. Once the room scanning is done, he will give you some other instructions. Once you're done with all the instructions, then they will release your question paper, right? Then they will release your question paper. So once the question paper is released, the proctor will help you until you open this question paper. He will tell you the question paper inside is in the red hat icon, so you can open your question paper and start your work. And remember one thing, while you are doing this work in your systems, in case if you stuck anywhere in the exam, suppose if you stuck anywhere in the exam, suppose you stuck in the second question or the third question, if you ask the proctor will not help you in that. Whether you don't know the answer or if your network is not working as expected, any of the issue, the proctor will not help you in this. The proctor is here only to monitor your activities in these 3 hours of period. And also your exam time is 3 hours, right? The time will be counted once the question paper is released. Whenever you get this question paper, from there onwards the time will start. 3 hours. That 3 hours time you can see in the home page, the left hand side. Okay, from the 2:59, okay, from the 259 it will going back the time 258 to 257. And also in your host operating system here you can see another time, like you can see the time like this. You don't trust this time, this is not your time, this is this system time. We don't know the system in which data center the system is configured, right? This time is for this system. Your exam time is these 3 hours that you can see here. Now do you have any questions on this environment? You can let me know.
So node 1, how many questions we have?
15 questions.
So like node 2 also same, right?
6 questions.
Okay.
Node 2 you can get only the 6 questions.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah,
Yes.
Sai. If in case we are unable to do this networking part, we cannot continue the next questions, right?
We cannot.
Yes.
If you fail to configure the net here, remember one thing. If you are not answered the first question in the node 1, if you are not answered the first question in the node 2, that is the end for the exam. You cannot move forward.
Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
That is the end. In case if you fail to record the root user password, that is the end for the exam. You cannot move forward. Okay, and also
Okay.
you answered all the questions in the node 1. Okay. You answered all the questions in the node 1. You failed to record this root user password, then you failed the exam.
Okay. And one more thing, the second question I'm not able to answer. Means in that node 1, the first one I answered. The second one I'm not sure. Means it is right or wrong, right? So can I move to the next question, right? No issues.
We can.
Yeah.
Only the first questions are the dependency. There is no dependency for the next question. In the node 1, only few questions we have the dependency.
Mm-hmm.
That
Okay.
we'll discuss when this question came. That time we'll discuss which one is the dependency question here.
Okay. So after the this one configuring the network, we need to do the reboot.
No. You no need to reboot the host in your exam. In case if you want, you can do it by yourself. But it's not the mandatory.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm talking about node 1. Anyway, node 2 we need to reboot. So node 1.
No, it's not a mandatory to reboot the node 1 or the node 2.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Okay,
Because
remember
one
that.
of my friend has he wrote the exam, but he is unable. He is not yet done the reboot of node 1. But he
Okay.
got only the 70%, 70 marks because of the he is not yet rebooted the node. But they are given the
Okay, I rated many Red
yes.
Hat exams. I never rebooted any host in my exam.
Okay. I just asked that.
No. See, where I will tell you why this rebooting came here in this exam. Actually, in the node 2, whatever the 6 questions you will get, in that 4 questions completely on the storage.
Yeah.
4 or 3 questions completely on the storage. So
Okay.
in that 4 or 2 questions, some questions you need to create your own partitions, and later you need to make it persistent. If you want to make it persistent, definitely we should provide the proper entries under the fstab file.
Good. Yeah.
Right. So you
Yes.
did everything as expected, but you failed to add the entries inside the fstab file. You simply provided the wrong entries inside the fstab file. Then only it will
It
end for
will
the
not.
exam.
Okay. Got it.
So
Thank you.
the
Thank you,
node
sir.
is crucial here, fstab file. I will tell you that when this question came, that time I will discuss. So far, if you
Okay.
clear with this exam environment, then we can move forward.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so how we can practice these things? Here in your lab, in the course lab, first here we are having one host operating system. EOS is the user and the foundation is the machine name. This is the host operating system. Here we have. Okay. You can take the credentials, or if you are available nearby location like Bangalore or Hyderabad, you can directly visit our centers and you can start practice. Okay. So once you get the system, the very first command here you need to trigger, that is RHT VMCTL full reset all space -q. Once you trigger this command, it will wipe up the existing data and it will provide you the new environment for your practice. And remember that the command will be work only inside this environment. You don't have like these commands in your exam or your real time, okay, in your laptops also. Only in this institute lab environment you need to use this command, right? RHT-VMCTL full reset all space -q. So once you trigger this command, all VMs will be resetted. Then you can verify that whether all the VMs are running or not by using the RHT VMCTL status on. Once you trigger the status, here you can find the various VMs like Bastion. Bastion, it should be in the running state. Utility should be in the running state. Workstation should be in the running state. And the server A should be in the running state. And also here you can find the another one also, that is cloud. And the server B should be in the running state. So these all should be in the running state, but here for using only the server A for the node 1 practice, the server B for the node 2 practice. Okay, if you ask me why can't we use the server A for the node 2 practice, because by default in the Red Hat environment the disks are attached in the server B in the RHCSA. Okay, whether you go with the Red Hat labs or you go with the institute labs, all the disks are attached into the server B. That's why we are using the node 2 practice server B. In your exam also same, right? In the node 2 only you will get the storage. Now let me get inside that environment. Okay. So once you entered inside your exam environment, this is how the exam environment looks like. This is your host operating system. Okay. So here you have the activities. Once you click on the activities, here we have the Firefox, but in the exam it is the Red Hat icon. So the next to the Firefox, here we have the files, but in the exam it is a consoles. So like that, various options and the terminal you can find in the same activities, right? And you can see the power button here. The power button is available in the host operating system. If any of the reason, if you shut down this VM, if you try to shut down the system, the power button is available here. But once you shut down, the entire exam setup will be closed. The proctor will ask the connection from you. Later again you cannot access that exam. Okay. So don't touch this power button, just ignore this. It will be available on your host operating system. Here for the practice, first what we want to do, first we need to open the terminal here. Once you open the terminal, here you can see kiosk address foundation. Here we are seeing the operating system, sorry, host name as the foundation, right? In the exam it might be the different, like desktop or something they will be. But here you need to target the full reset all space -u. Then it will reset all the machines.
Uh, I'm just interrupting you between. Have you started with the questions, like, or we are just going with setup first?
Setup first. Still questions are not
Okay.
started.
Okay. All right.
Here it's done. The status observations all are running here. This is the RSC mission. That's why you are seeing the up to the server D. But in your system, you can see only up to the server B, server A and the B. So first log into the server A here. SSH root at the red server A. Anywhere it not asking for the any password. In case if it is asking a password for the any of the VM, the password is Red Hat. I think still the VM is in the booting stage. That's why we got the error no doubt. Let me check the status of the VM. It's in the booting. Just log into the server A. Use SSH root at the red server A. Once you log into the server A, click on this activities. Here you are having the Firefox, right? Let's come to this Firefox. Okay. So once you come to this Firefox, here you can see one site that is content.example.com. Just click on this. Once you click on this, okay, it will be landed like this. In this you can find RH exam. In this RH exam, you can find the one folder in your system, that is EX200. So in this EX200 here you are having the three files. One is ex200q.txt. This is your question paper, and the server.a.sh is a script for your node 1. So once you apply this script, it will prepare your server A for node 1 practice. So like that, here you have the server B. Once you apply this script in the node 2, it will prepare your system for the node 2 practice. Right? So just right click on this server A.sh and copy the link location and come to your terminal and use the wget command to download that file to your local system. And here the file is downloaded. Here you can see the file server A.sh. Now apply this script. Once the script is applied, automatically it is logged from the server A. From there onwards, whatever we are doing, that we should do in the exam. See that automatically it's logged from the server A. Now close your terminal here. Okay, from now onwards, whatever we are doing here, that we should be in the exam. So first what we want to do, first we need to open our question paper, right? Just open your question paper. Once we open the question paper, the very first one we can find the instructions. Here we can read the instructions. Please read carefully. You will given by 2 VMs. Total VMs will get 2 VMs. Total number of questions will be around 20. In one VM, in one system, root password is already set. For the node 1, the root password is already set. We can find that password from the instructions. Okay, no need to reset that password. But in second system, password need to be recovered. But in the second system, we need to recover the root user password. In one system, network configuration is required. In the first system, node 1, you need to configure the network. But in the another system, the network is already configured. In the node 2, the network is already configured. You don't need to configure the network here in the node 2. NTP need to be configured in only one system. So you need to configure the NTP in one system, not in both. Repo need to configure in the both the system, but the repo list you need to configure in the both the system. Okay. And there is not any question. This instruction you will not get in your exam. And firewall and the SELinux both will be pre-enabled. The security firewall and the SELinux both are pre-enabled. If you scroll down here, the first question here you can get is the first question here. Configure network and set the static hostname. Here they are asking you to configure the network and set the static hostname. They will give you the IPv version 4 address. They will give you the net mask. They will give you the gateway. They will give you the DNS. In the place of DNS, they will give you the name server or the server name. Whatever it is, that could be the DNS IP. And along with that, here you can find the host name also. Okay, host name also they will give you in your exam. These all the things they will give you in your question. Now this time we want to configure the network. If you want to configure the network, we can configure the network in the consoles, right? So open your consoles here. In the exam we can find the consoles next to the Red Hat icon, right? But here in the search bar you can simply search with that server name, server A. Remember one thing, inside the consoles you cannot increase the font size, and also you cannot copy paste it. We cannot increase the font size, we cannot copy paste. So once you open the console, sometimes in your exam directly it will not give you the login prompt like the server A login. Here one icon is blinking right after the server A login. Like that one icon will be blink in your console. Once you hit the enter, then it will give the login prompt like this. So once you got the login prompt, here you need to log into this VM. So use the username as the root and the password. Whatever the password they provided, you can use the same password. But here the password is Red Hat. Okay. This time we are inside the server A. Now we want to configure the network. How we can configure the network? If you want to configure the network, you can use the two command line utilities to configure the network. One is you can use the nmcli command line utility to configure the network, or you can use the nmtui to configure the network in the graphical user interface. But here the preferred way, what I preferred for the exam, you can go with the nmtui to configure the network. Okay, nmtui. So just hit enter here. So once you hit the enter, it will open the prompt like this, network manager TUI. Please select an option. By default here we will get the three options. One is an edit connection, activate a connection, and set a system hostname. First we want to go with the edit a connection because we want to configure the network. Just go with the edit a connection. So once you go with the edit a connection, here it will open this page. In this you can find the Ethernet. By default in this you can find one or more network connections. Okay, whether it could be the one network connection or the more network connection. By default, whatever the network connection, here it is selected. Here it is selected the wireless connection one, right? Okay, in your exam also you can see like the same. Go with that and go with the edit. Here you can use your up and down navigation keys. Only the keys here we can use. We cannot use our mouse or the cursor. Go with the edit and hit enter. In your exam, once you enter inside this environment, it will be look like this initially. Okay. Once you enter inside this edit connection, it will be look like this. You no need to give the name. They will not ask you to give the name. The name you can just leave it wired connection 1. Okay. Here we want to configure the IPv4. Here you can see IPv4 configurations and the 6 configurations. But here we want to configure the IPv4. So just click on the show. Once you click on the show, it will give you the available options here. And here you have the automatic, right? But they're asking you to create the static IP. Just hit the enter. Here you can find the various options. In this, you can select the manual. The address. So in the address, whatever the address they given, you need to add that address. Okay, you need to add that address here. And also along with the IP address, here they given the net mask, right? But if you see here, we couldn't find the any different options to add the net mask. We are not having the any different option to add the net mask. So in the IP address, you need to specify the prefix length as your net mask. Right here, the net mask is 255.255.255.0. The same net mask you will get in your exam. So by default, the prefix length you need to write it as /24 along with your IP. Along with your IP, you need to write the prefix length as /24. Let's assume this is your IP 172.25.250.10. This is your IP. Okay, and they given the net mask as 255.255.255.0. So in that case, along with the IP, /24 is your prefix length of the net mask. Okay. The IP address you need to define the port. So let's add the IP. And the prefix length. So once you added this, whatever the gateway they provided, you can use the same gateway IP. And the DNS, whatever the DNS IP they provided, you can use the same DNS IP. Okay, and in the search domain, here you can see the search domain. The search domain they added the lab.example.com, but if you observe the host name, your host name is server.a.lab.example.com. In this, up to the first dot, whatever you have, that is your host name. After the first dot, this lab.example.com is your search domain. In your exam also, node1 dot something domain dot example.com they will give. Up to the first dot, whatever you have, that is your host name. After the first dot, whatever you have, that is your search domain. So in the no, we cannot increase the font size here in the console, right? That's what I mentioned. In your exam also same, you cannot increase the font size of your console. Okay.
So we should avoid that adding that server A, right? In exam also, right? Just lab.example.com. That would be correct.
In your exam they will give the different. In the place of lab, that will be the domain. Whatever the domain you register for your exam, that domain name they will give, like domain 16, domain 18, like that. Okay. So the lab.example.com, you can simply add this lab.example.com. In your exam, you don't need to add this example.com. So once you added these all the configurations, don't make any changes here. Let's come to this. Okay, let's click on this. Okay, now come back. We made the changes in the network configurations. To reflect those changes, what we want to do, we need to deactivate and activate the connection, right? So this is the connection we edited before. Now here you can see already the connection is in the activated state. How you can find whether the connection is in the activated state? Here you selected the connection. Once you selected the connection, one way is on that connection it will show you the hashtag mark like this if the connection is in the activated state. And another one is whatever the connection here you selected, here it will show you the option. If the connection is in the activated state, here it will show you the deactivate option, or if the connection is in the deactivated state, it will show you the activate option. So far the connection is in the activated state. Here you can see the star mark also there. This time I want to deactivate this connection. Now just select the deactivate and hit the enter. See that once you hit the enter, here you will get the option as activate, and also the star mark will went on this connection. It means the connection now is in the deactivated state, and activate it again. Now the changes will be fetched inside the network connection. Then come back. And final option, here you have the set system hostname. If you want, you can set your hostname from here, or after you log into the host also you can set. Now add your hostname, whatever they given. So a.lab.example.com. That's it. I'll come to this. Okay. Quit. Finally quit from this. So once you configure the network, go with the IP address. So once you go with the IP address, there you can see the one or more network adapters. Okay, here I have the two network connections. One is the loopback and the second one is ENP1S0 network connection. So under this network connection, you can see the IP address whatever I configured, 172.25.250.10. that is the IP here I configured. And try to ping that IP, whatever you configure, you can just try to ping that IP. Okay, here the IP is pinging, it means the network is successfully configured. In case the IP is not pinging, you made some mistake inside the network configuration, then again recheck that one. Okay, so once you configure the IP, you are writing the version 9, right? You already know in the version 9 by default connecting the host with the root user is prohibited. Okay, connecting the host with the SSH with the root user is prohibited. For that, what we want to do, once you configure the network, here you need to open the SSH configuration file. This is the location of your SSH configuration file, /etc sshd_config. Now open this file with the editor. Already the Vim editor is pre-installed in your exam. You can use the Vim editor. Once you open this file, inside this file, the very first one, here you can find the authentication. Okay, here you are able to see the authentication, right? So in the authentication in your exam, it will be look like this. The line is commented in the place of yes. In your exam, you can see prohibited password. You can see like this in your exam. So here what you want to do, once you come to this line, you can just remove this whatever you have here, S, and also uncomment this line. Once you uncomment this line, the line is highlighted with the yellow color, and once you uncommented this permit root login and make it S, then you need to find the another one, that is password authentication in the visible TL plain text password. Okay, here the password authentication already S, but this line was commented. So here what you want to do, just come to this line and uncomment this line. Okay, in case if you have the no here, you can make it S. Okay. Here inside this configuration file, you need to take it two things. One is the permit root login and the password authentication. Both should be uncommented and both should be S. Okay, once these two lines are uncommented and S, now save the changes inside this file. Okay, just exit from this file, save the changes and exit. Now restart your SSH service. In case if you forget to restart the SSH service, the changes will not reflect, then you cannot connect it to your host from the terminal. Remember that. Okay, now with this, we now require the node 1 console no longer in the exam. That's about your first question. Am I clear with this?
There is some command to copy the device name, right? In the exam when we did the another connections, right? So how to copy that one?
You don't have any commands in the exam like that.
We need to edit manually.
You need to edit manually.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so from the second question onwards, it's a bit easy. What is the second question here? Configure yum repos with the given link. For that, first we need to log into the host. First log into the host with the terminal. Once you've done the first question, Just open your terminal, take the SSH root at the rate IP, whatever the IP they provided, the same IP. Now we are inside the node 1. Now what is the second question here? Configure yum repos with the given links. In your exam also they will give the two links. One is the base OS repository link and the second one is AppStream repository link. This time you want to configure the repositories. For this, first you need to verify whether you have any existing repositories in the system. Simply use yum repo list or here we don't have any repositories here. Now if you want to configure the repositories, we need to create the file under the /etc yum.repo.d directory. Under this location we need to create the file. So the file name we can take whatever you want. Simply I am taking the file name as RHCSA v9. That is the file name, and the file extension must be .repo. The file extension must be .repo. Just hit enter. So once you come to this file, just come to the insert mode. Here you need to configure the repositories, base OS and the AppStream. So whenever you are configuring the repositories, the very first one you need to give the description, or we could say this is the ID for the repository. The description we can provide inside these two brackets. The description you can give whatever you want. Simply I am giving the description as RH124. This is my description. And the next one is name of the repository. The name of the repository also you can give whatever you want. Here I am simply giving the base OS as the name of my repository and the base URL. But when it comes to the base URL, whatever the URL they provided for your repository, you can use the same URL. Just copy and paste this URL, because inside this URL you are having some lowercase, you are having some uppercase. In case one letter is mismatched, it's not going to it's not going to configure the repositories. Later whenever you try to install any package, okay, it's difficult to install the package. So that's why copy and paste this URLs from the question, and the GPG check as 0 because they will not provide you any GPG keys in your question, and enable is equal to 1 to enable the repository. That's it. The base OS repository is configured. So likewise configure the AppStream as a RH134. The description I am taking, and the name of the repository simply I am taking AppStream, and the base URL, whatever the URL they provided to us, we need to use the same URL. You can just copy it from the question paper. GPG check as 0 and enable is equal to 1. That's it. Now save and exit from this file. So once you save and exit from this file, simply use yum repo list up. Okay, see this, the two repositories are enabled. Now if you try to install any package, it's going to install the package. So once you're done with the question, you can simply leave this one, clear the screen and start writing your next question. That's it. You don't need to do any kind of other verifications here.
This conference will now be recorded.
What is the next question here? Debug SELinux. They're asking you to debug the SELinux. A web server running on non-standardized port 82. A web server is running on the non-standardized port. That port number is 82. Is having issues serving content. Debug and fix the issues. Here you have one web server is running in your system, but that web server is running on the port number 82, is having some issues to serving the content on that port number 82. Here we want to find that issues and we need to fix that issues. The web server on your system can serve all existing HTML files from where www.html. Okay, don't make any changes in this file. So this is the default home directory for the web server. In this we are having some files. We no need to make any changes in these files. And also web service should automatically start at the boot time. It means the web service is already enabled. You no need to enable the service also. Here simply you want to find the issue why the web server is unable to serving the content on the port number 82. Okay, let's come to the system here. First check the status of the web server. Here the web server is failed. We need to find the issue why the web server is failed. As for our task, here they are saying the web server is unable to serving the content on the port number 82, right? So open the configuration file of the HTTPD /etc HTTPD conf httpd.conf. You need to remember this location. They will not give you this location in your exam. You need to remember this file path. So once you open this file, inside this file you can find the line which is listen. Here you have the listen 82. Come out from this file. As we read in the instructions, in our system the SELinux is pre-enabled, right? The SELinux is pre-enabled. Maybe whether the SELinux is having this information or not, we don't know. So let's check the configuration of the SELinux. Use SC port space -L and the grep HTTP. If you see the SELinux DB, inside the SELinux DB, these ports are enabled. We don't have any information about the port number 82 inside the SELinux DB. So that's why here the SELinux is blocking the request to the web server to access the resource with the port number 82 in the host. This time what we want to do, we need to enable that port number 82 inside the SELinux DB. So how we can add? Simply you can use scmanage port space -A -T for the type. Here you need to define the port label type. This is the port label type. Copy and paste this port label type here. And -P for the protocol. What is the protocol? Here it is using to serving the content, that is the TCP. And what is the port you want to add? That is 82. Okay. Now verify this again. See that the port number 82 is added. Before, whenever we check the status of the web server, that time the web server is in the failed state, right? Now this time you can restart the web server. Once you made the changes in the SELinux, restart the web server, verify the status. Here the web server is running. Okay, so once the web server is running, you can simply verify the content by using curl http localhost port number 82. Okay, you are seeing the content like this, right? In the exam, you can see, let me remove the file here. You see the content like this. This is the default home page for the web server. If you don't have any existing HTML files in the home directory of the web server, you can see the content like this, right? That's it. That's about this question.
So first that configuration file we need to add the 82, right? So it will be
82 already exists inside the configuration file.
Okay, it will be there. Okay.
Yes. That 82 is
So
already
can't we change
existing.
the value in the configuration file like 80?
Then what is the meaning of this question?
Like
If you change the port number in the configuration file, then what is the meaning of this task?
so then
Then why
like
we
for
want
web server
Maybe you can change from 80 to 82.
change from 82?
to 80. Because 80 is already enabled in the SELinux, right?
Hmm.
So if we
See
change
this,
the configuration file
what they
from
are
80 to
asking here, you can just understand the task, what they are asking. They are asking the web server want to serve the content on the port number 82, not the port number 80, right? Then you need to perform the same. Then only you will get the marks. If you tried our own, nothing will get. Okay.
Okay.
Whether the web server is running also, nothing will get. We need to follow the task. That is the exam.
Thank you.
Got it?
Yes.
And what is the next question here? This is the dependency question. If you are not answered these questions, maybe you cannot answer 3 to 4 questions in the node 1. Okay, this is the dependency question. Here the question is, create a user accounts. Here we want to create some user accounts with the supplementary group. With the supplementary group, we want to create the user accounts. Okay, for that first you need to create the group here. Create the group named sysadmins. Here we want to create the group. That group name is sysadmins. So create that group add, and the group name is sysadmins. Maybe they'll give some different group name also in your exam, but most of the time you will get the same. Okay, now the group is created. How you can verify? If you want to verify, you can verify it from the groups file as well. Create a user named as Natasha, and the Harry will be the supplementary group sysadmin. Here they are asking you to create the two users. One is the Natasha and the second one is the Harry. These two users will be the members of the supplementary group sysadmins. Okay, how you can add the user into the supplementary group? What is the command we can use? User add -G to add the users into the supplementary group, and group name and the username. Okay. Here the user is created. Likewise, you need to create the Harry as well. Now these two users are created. How you can verify this? See, once you executed the task, you need to verify. So use ID Natasha. Now the Natasha user is the supplementary member of the sysadmin. So likewise, the Harry user also will be the supplementary member of this sysadmin. Right? And what is the another point here? Create a user named Sarah. Here they're asking you to create one more user. That username is the Sarah. Should have non-interactive shell. This user should have the non-interactive shell, and it should be not member of sysadmin group, and also this user should not be the member of this sysadmin group. Okay, how you can do that? Simply use user add -es testwin no login to provide the no login shell for the user. You need to pass this no login file, and the username is Sarah. Verify whether the user was created. Okay, the user is created, and also you can see the user is not member of the sysadmin or any of the other groups. And also you can try to switch to the user, because here we provided the no login shell for the user, right? Whether that was applied or not. Account is currently not available. It means the no login shell is applied. Password for all users should be the truetent. Here the password you need to provide for the all users is truetent. So here you can use the simply passwd and specify the username. Later you can add the user's password 2 times. Okay, or you can use the stand input method also, but here I am using this one, echo. Here I am using the user password truetent pipe passwd -stdin and the username Natasha. Echo is a command to print the message. In this case, the first command output is the truetent, and in our case the truetent is the password, right? It will print this message as a truetent. Here the pipe operator will going to take the first command standard output as a input for the next command. Here the input is passwd standard in and the username. Okay, here it will take the input as a truetent for this next command. Just hit enter, it will update the password. So like that you can create the password for the Harry user, the Sarah user as well. That's about this question. Is it clear?
No question, sir.
Okay. And what is the next one here? Configure a cron job that run every 1 minute and executes logger EX200 in progress as the user Natasha. Here they are asking you to schedule one cron job. That cron job wants to execute every 1 minute. Okay, that program is logger EX200 in the progress. It's want to execute every 1 minute this logger program as the user Natasha. So you need to schedule this cron job with the user Natasha account. Okay, so one is directly you can log into that user account and you can schedule, and also other users also schedule these jobs, right? For that you can simply use cron -e-u for the user and the Natasha, right? So here they are asking you to the every 1 minute, right? In your exam you can get this question in the 2 ways. One is they will ask you to schedule the job in minutes, every minutes, whether it could be the 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes, Okay, one way they are asking you to schedule this job in a minute. Suppose let's say here you got one task to schedule the task every 1 minute. How you can schedule? By default in the cron tab file we are having the 5 different fields, right? The first one is the minute field, second one is the hour field, third one is the day of the month, fourth one is the month of the year, fifth one is the day of the week. Here they are asking you to schedule this job every 1 minute. So start by 1, every innocent star, and space star, rest of the 4 fields are the star. Okay, by end here you need to specify your program, whatever they are asking. Agar EX200 in progress. Agar EX200 is in the progress. Either they will ask you to schedule it in the every minutes. If they will ask you to schedule it with the every 5 minutes, you can use the 5. Any one they will ask you. They will give the specific time. Like the same job, I want to schedule with the specific time. Okay, like this job wants to schedule with the 2:20 p.m. every day. They will ask you like this also. In this format also they can ask. In case if you got the job to schedule in this format, okay, specific time. Here what is the first field? Minute field. Here what is the minutes? 20. Here what is the minutes? 20. In the second field is the hour field. Here what is the hours? 2 p.m. The cron will accept only the 24 format. We already know that. So in the place of hours, you need to give the 14, and rest of the 3 fields are the star star, and whatever the program you have, you can add that program. Whatever they give. Okay, either they will give you EX200 or sometimes they will give you the welcome message also. Anything whatever they given, you can simply copy that from the question and you can paste it here. That's it. Clear with this? Now execute that every 1 minute. Star by 1, space star 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 star. Whatever the program they are asking you to execute, you can simply copy that from the question, paste it here. Now you can verify the job by using this. If you want to see this activity, depends upon the time it will generate. If you schedule it in the minutes, okay, after a few minutes you can see, or if you scheduled in the specific time, okay, at that time you are in the exam, you can verify. So if you want to verify, you can simply use the logs general ctl space -xe. You can simply grab that program EX200. Still it was not generated. Here, this time it is generating. Like this you can verify. Here with this question. Are you clear with this fifth question?
Yes, sir. You can go to next.
Here the next question is, create a collaborative directory. They are asking you to create one collaborative directory. Create the directory /home manager with the following characters. Here they are asking you to create the directory. The directory name is /home manager with the following requirements. So first create the directory mkdir /home is already existed. You need to create the directory manager under the /home. So once it is created, you can go with the long list of that directory. Now, group ownership of this /home manager should go to the sysadmin group. The group ownership for this /home manager should go to the sysadmin group. But if you see the long list of this file, here the group ownership we are having the root. So we need to change the group ownership first. Change it. How you can change? You can use chgrp sysadmins and the file name. Now it is changed. Now the group ownership is changed. A directory should have the full permission for the all members of sysadmin group. On this /home manager directory, every user in the sysadmin group should have the full permissions, okay, but not to the other users, but not for the other users except root. Here you want to apply the 770 permissions because expect root. Here the root user is the owner of this directory. Already the root user is having the 7, and the group owner, they are asking the full permissions, but by default you can get the only 5 for the group. Here already other users having the 5 permissions. Here you want to make it 0. So here you need to apply the 770 normal privileges. That is the one point. Here another point is files created in the future under the /home manager should get the same group ownership. And in the future, whatever the files you are creating under the /home manager, that file should get the same group ownership of this /home manager. Okay, if any file wants to get the same group ownership, here we want to apply the set gid permission. Okay, set gid. Normally if you want you can use the g+s also, but better in the single command you can apply the both. How you can do that? 2 is for the set gid, 770 is the standard permissions, /home manager is the file. Now if you go with this file long list, here you can see. If you want to text whether the files was getting the same group ownership, you can create the simple file here, file.txt I am creating. Verify this. The file is getting the same group ownership. That's about the question. Is it clear, guys? Okay. And what is the next one? Configure NTP. Here they are asking you to configure the NTP. Synchronize time of your system with the server classroom.example.com. This is the NTP server address hostname. So in your exam, they will give you a NTP server hostname. This is the hostname of the NTP, or you can get IP address of the NTP. Simply they will give the question like this: synchronize the time of your system with the server, IP address or the hostname. First you can just copy whatever they given, whether it was the IP or the hostname. Once you copy, open the NTP configuration file, that is /etc crony.conf. This is the configuration file of the NTP. Once you open this file, anywhere of this file you can add that entry, but here once you open this file, after the first 2 lines, here you can see some default entries in this file. Okay, in your exam also, in the place of server in your exam you can see the pool, but here you need to sync the time from the server, not with the pool. If you have the pool also, you no need to add here. Don't add this pool here. Okay, so just come this and start with the server space, whatever you copied from the question, simply paste it, and iBurst parameter must be enabled. Okay, then only it can sync the time. Server and whatever we copied from the question, but whether it was the IP or the hostname, you can just copy that one and add the iBurst. That's it. Save and exit from this file. So once you save and exit from this file, restart the NTP service. Use cron et, that is the service name. So once you restart it, use cron et sources space -e. Okay, here you can see whatever you added. Okay, here you can see whatever you added in your exam. If you added the IP, mostly you can see the host name. If you added the IP also, you can see the host name, because every host having the host name, right? So it's not going to show you the IP, it will show you the host name in your case also in exam. Clear with this?
Do we need to use the time.ctl command actually? Last time I was trying an exam and it was not working.
This is the only option we have in the exam for this NTP.
Okay. Sir, can you please open that configuration file again once? I just missed that. Okay.
And the next one, here we have the question about the RTFS, but this is not the question you will get in your exam. The question is a bit different. So what is the next question here? Configure RTFS. All remote user X home directories is exported via NFS. All the remote user X home directory is exported via NFS, which is available on utility.example.com. This is your NFS server address, utility.lab.example.com, utility.example.com. Okay, and your NFS exported directory is /home remote user X for the remote user X. And what is the directory which is exported from the NFS? /home remote user X for remote user X. Remote user X home directory is utility.example.com. Okay, remote user X home directory is utility.example.com /rhome/remote user X. So this is the complete path of your NFS server. This is the NFS server host name, and this is the directory which is exported from the NFS. Where X is the stationary number, you no need to worry about the X, because some user home directories are configured in the domain, that is the X. And the beneath as, here you are able to see the beneath, right? And the beneath as /rhome remote user 5. So this is your local mount point. This is your local mount point. Remote user X home directory should be auto mounted with the RTFS service. I am repeating the question again. Here we want to configure the RTFS service. All remote user home directories are exported via NFS, which is available on utility.lab.example.com, and your NFS exported directory is /home remote user X. So this is your NFS server host name. From this host, this is the directory which is exported to your host, right? And where X is the stationary number, remote user X home directory is utility.example.com /rhome/remote user X. Okay, this is the complete path of your NFS, the host name and the exported directory. Okay, and the beneath as, here you are seeing the beneath, right? The beneath is your local mount point /rhome/remote user X. This is your local mount point. With this mount point, you want to mount the data with your NFS. Let me copy this. Just try to understand here. They're asking you to mount it with the local mount point as /rhome remote user X, right? So whenever you install the RTFS service in your system, it will provide you the two configuration files. One is /etc auto.master, and the second one is /etc auto.mesh. These are the two configuration files which will provide by your RTFS service. So what are the entries here we want to add in these two files to configure this NFS? The very first one, inside the master file, you need to add the two entries. One is mount location, and the second one is the configuration file, that is /etc auto.mesh. These are the two entries here you want to add. But what is the mount location here? This is the local mount point they are asking. What is the end directory here you have? That is the mount point. Remember that. Remote user 5 is the mount point because that was the end directory. And where this remote user 5 is stored? Under the /r home. In that case, this /r home is your mount location. /r home is your mount location. So in the place of mount location, what is the entry here you want to add? /r home. That is the mount location. Okay, so once you added the mount location and the configuration file, default configuration file /etc.mess, save and exit from this file. This time open the second configuration file. What are the entries we want to provide in the second configuration file? The very first entry, you need to provide the mount point. You need to provide the mount point. So here, what is the mount point? Remote user 5 is a mount point. So here you want to add remote user 5 in the place of mount point. So once you added this mount point, this time you need to define the privileges. What are the privileges you want to provide for this mount point? So the default privileges here we want to provide read write, sync to sync the data, and the complete path of the NFS from which NFS server the data want to sync. So from this NFS server, example.com /r home remote user. Okay, you don't need to type this one, you can simply copy this, right? So if they will ask you to the local mount point beneath as this one, beneath as /r home remote user 5 or something like this, in this format, if they will ask you anything, just understand that there is the two configuration file for the RTFS master and the mess. In the master file, first we need to provide the mount location. What is the mount location here? You need to start from the beginning. /r home. /r home is a mount location. You need to add the /r home and the /etc.mess in the master file. And once you added this, save and exit. The second one, here we are having the mount point. See that you no need to validate this slash, because the slash here, this slash is a separator. If the slash is in the beginning, it is the complete path. If the slash is in the between the files, the slash is a separator here. So this slash is a separator. You no need to add this slash. Simply you need to add the remote user 5. Simply you need to add the remote user 5 in the MISC file and provide the privileges for this mount point. What is the privileges you are providing for this mount point, and from which NFS server you are getting this data to syncing the data to this mount point. This is the NFS server address. Clear with this? So first what we want to do here, first we need to install the package. So install yum install auto fs. Here the package is installed. Now check the status of the service. It was not running. Start and enable the service. Enable -now auto fs. Okay, here the service was up and running. As we know, the RTFS service will going to provide us the two configuration files. One is auto.master. The second one is auto.mess. Open the first configuration file, that is auto.master. Once you open this configuration file, anywhere in this configuration file you can add this entry, but here you can see one default entry, one reference entry here they will give you. Okay, under this entry also you can add. So let's come to this. Okay, under this entry also you can add. What we want to add here, mount location. In our case, what is the mount location? /r home is a mount location. Use the tab or space. and add the configuration file, that is /etc auto.misc. Now save and exit from this file. The next open the second configuration file, that is /etc auto.misc. This file just come to the end. In the end, the first one we need to add the mount point. In our case, what is the mount point? Remote user 5 is the mount point, and use the tab bar space. Here we need to provide the privileges. You don't need to define the FS type because by default the FS type is NFS version 4. Okay, you don't need to define the FS type. For RW, sync option to sync the data, and also here you can provide the another option soft because the directory is exported from the remote location. That's why use the soft option also, and specify the complete path. Simply copy the complete path. This is the complete path, and simply copy it from the question paper. Add that entry here. Now once you add these entries, save and exit from this. So whenever we make the changes in the configuration files, we need to restart the service to reflect those changes. So after you edited these two files, you need to restart the RTFS service. Okay, once you restarted the RTFS service, in your question paper they will give you one username, remote user 5 or something. You can simply use su space hyphen and that remote username. Okay, once you switch to that user, there you can simply type the pwd. Once you type the pwd, in that case you can see the local mount point whatever you configured. In case if you are not seeing this local mount point, you made the mistake inside the question. Okay, once you switch to that user, once you use the pwd, you need to see the output your local mount point. If you are not seeing this, you made the mistake. That's about this RTFS.
Can you show once auto.master?
Here,
What is this /misc?
which one?
This /misc and /rh home left side. Yeah.
What is this? You're asking what is this?
Yeah.
Are you presented in this session now?
No, but like /misc means what? Or will it be given in configuration file?
This /misc is a configuration file.
Okay.
In your RHCSA course, you have this one, right? You have this topic NFS. The /misc and the master both are the configuration files.
Okay, sir.
Is it
We'll
clear?
practice that. Yeah. Okay.
You don't have this ACL question in your version 9. You don't have this ACL topic here. And the 10th question, next question is, it's very simple. Create a user Bob. They're asking you to create one user. That username they will give the Bob Alex something with the specific UUID. Okay, that UUID also they will specify inside your question. You need to create that user. So here the username is Bob with the UUID 112 and set the password for that user as the root-end. So simply you can use user add -u 112 and the Bob. So here the user is created and provide the password for that user. Now the password also created for that user. Let's go to this question. And what is the next one here? Look at all files owned by the user Harry. Here we want to find all the files which is related to the user. That username they will give you. It's not always Harry. Sometimes they will give the different username also. And whatever the files you find related to that user, you need to copy that files to under this /root/Harry files. /root/Harry files. First, what we want to do here, we want to find the files which is related to the user Harry. Once we find the files, we want to copy those all the files to this path, right? First, copy this path from the question. So once you copied this path, verify this whether the path was existed or not. Okay, the path is not existed. So once the path is not existed, create that path. Okay, here it is created. So once you created this path, the next step you need to verify the user. Whatever the user they give you in the question, verify that user is existed or not. So here the user also existed. Now start finding the files related to that user. What is the command here you can use to find the files? Here you can use the find command. From where they are asking you to find the files, see that here they are given a path to copy the files, but they are not given the any path from where you want to find the files. So if they are not given the any path, by default you need to find the files from the root file system. So use find /user because we are finding the files related to the user, and use that username. So with this, it's going to find the files and it's going to display that files in our terminal. But here our requirement is we want to copy the same files to our path. For that, here you can use the another option as exec cp -rvfp, recursively verbose files and the print. Okay, files and the print space, use the wildcards space, specify the path in which path you want to copy, use the space, this backslash and the colon. These are the wildcards. Whenever you use the wildcards, okay, then only including the configuration files, hidden files, everything it's going to redirect it to this /root Harry files. Once you hit the enter, here we can see all the files is pointing to this /root Harry files. You can verify this by using ls space -la and /root Harry files. This is here. The files are copied. That's about this question. Clear with this?
Yes.
And what is the next one here? Find a string ICH. Here they are asking you to find one string. The string they will give you in your question, whether that could be the ICH or the IC. They will give the 3 characters or the 2 characters also sometimes. And remember one thing, in your question paper they will not highlighted anything with the single or double quotations. So you need to read the question carefully first. Okay, we need to read the questions carefully. So find a string ICH from USR share dig towards. From this file you want to find the string. So either they will give you like this simple path, file path, or they will give you the long file paths. So whatever they given, you can just copy that file path, and whatever the output you are getting from this file, you need to store that output into this root lines file. Okay, find a string ICH from the words file, and that output you want to store it into the root lines file. So first what we want to do, you just copy the file path. What is the command here we can use to find a string? Grep. And if you want, you can use the singular, the double quotations for the string ICH and paste that path. So here we can use the redirection to assign to redirect the output into the files, that is root lines. Now the output is redirected. Now how we can verify that whether it was successfully redirected or not? Okay, for that, here what I am doing is, here I am just taking the word count. Okay, word count. So I am matching a string from this file. So I am taking that word count. How many lines we have this string inside this file? Okay, here we have this string inside that file 1717. So the same we redirected to this file also. Now you can find the string from this file and take the word count. If the both are matched, then it will be right. If in case if the both are not matched, from both are matched. Right? It's verified. And here the next question is create an archive. Here they're asking you to create one archive file. That file name they will give you /root backup.tar. Here they simply given the /root backup.tar, okay, of USR local directory and compress it with the gzip. Here they are asking you to create one backup file. The file name here they given /root backup.tar of USR local directory. This is the directory. Here we want to compress it with the gzip. Okay, so first you need to install this algorithm gzip. Use yum install. In your exam it's not pre-installed, sometime use this. Okay, it is installed. Once you install this, use the tar -c for create, v for the purpose. Here they are asking you to compress it with the gzip. So here I am using the algorithm option as the small z and f for the file. So here you need to specify your archive file. So just simply copy the path. Most of the time they will not miss the extension. In case if they will mix the extension also, depends upon the algorithm. You need to provide the extension. Here the algorithm we are using the gzip. You need to provide the extension as gz. And what is the file and the directory they are asking you to compress? USR local. Copy that one also. Paste it here. Can use the ls. Here the file is created. So either they will ask you to the gzip or bzip2, right? In case if they will ask you to compress it with the bzip2, you can simply install that package first. Any one you will get, not both. Bzip. Here the algorithm is already installed. You can simply use the tar -cv. For the bzip2, you can use the small j f and copy the file path, archive file path, and the extension if they miss also we need to add, right? That is bj2 for the bzip. And what is the directory they are asking you to compress? That is your server. That's it. Now the file is created. Okay, any one you will get. So most of the time you cannot get this script question here. In the place of script, this one question is an optional. In the place of script, they can ask you the 2 or 3 different questions. Any one question they will ask you. I'll give the 3 topics here. You can practice those 3. One is for the specific user, they will ask you to provide the no passwd sudo access. Okay, sudo access for specific user. Provide no passwd sudo privileges for specific user, or provide no passwd sudo privileges for specific group. Or you can get this question on change the umask value for specific user. Okay, they will ask you to change the umask value for the specific user. Okay, what is that umask value? Everything they will give you in your question. About these 2 topics you can get this question. Or apart from this, you can get another question like configure application. Simply they will ask you to configure the application. Okay, and the application wants to generate some output. Simply they will ask you the application wants to generate some output like welcome to host. Okay, welcome to host. Like this question you will get. So for this question, they will give you the username. One username they will give you. Okay, suppose let's say the username is Natasha. Like that username they will give you. So whatever the user they will give you in your question, first you need to switch to that user. Simply, the question is very simple. Configure the application. Okay, they will give you that username. So whatever the username they give you, simply log into that user. Once you log into that user, here you can use the ls space -a. There you can find one file .bash profile. So open that file. So once you open the file, they will give you some content, right, like welcome or something. Simply you can use the echo and use the welcome. Okay, welcome to EX200, like this, whatever they will give you. So once you add that content inside that file, use the source .bash profile. Okay, it will update. Now you can log out and log in again. See that it is generating the message. Okay, that's about this question. So likewise, if you want to, if they are asked you to change the two masks for the specific user, here you have the file .bashrc. Open this file. Okay, open this file. Once you open the file bashrc, once you open the file, just come to the end of the file. So in this file, simply add the umask and whatever the privileges they want. Suppose they will ask you the question like this: for the directory I want these privileges, for the file I want these privileges, for the directory I want read write execute. Okay, read write execute. For the file I want the read write execute. Like that they will ask you. For the file I want read write execute. Okay, and for the owner, sorry, not for the directory, on the directory for the owner they want read write execute. Okay, and for the group they want read write execute. For the others they want null permissions. So like that, and also like the same they will give for the file as well. So once you get this permissions, whatever they given in the question, okay, what you want to do here, they are asking for the owner it's 7, group 7, and for the other users it's 0. So what is the highest value? That is 777. You can just consider the directory, don't consider this file. Yeah, what are the privileges they given for the file, you don't consider, just consider the permissions for the directory. Automatically it will change for the file. So the highest permissions you can provide for the directory is 777, right? So here they are asking you to get the permissions for your directories is this one. So whatever the permissions they are asking, you can just simply remove that permission from the highest permission. So here it is the 770. So you can simply use 770. Once you remove, you can get one value, that is 007. Now if you apply this value as a umask value, now your files and the directory should get these permissions. Okay. Umask 007. Now save and exit. So once you save and exit, update that file for the immediate changes -rc. Now the file is updated. If you go with the umask, you can see the umask whatever you added, right? And also if you want to see what is the privileges your files and directory should get, you can add the -s option. See this here. For the user it will get the 7, group it will get the 7, others it's 0. Okay. And there is one question left in this node 1, that is about the containers. About the containers we'll discuss once we're done with the node 2 questions.
This conference will now be recorded.
We left one question in the node 1, that is containers. We'll discuss about these containers once we're done with the node 2. Okay. Node 2, so B. You can practice these things. Again, you can come to this EX200 folder. Here you have one file. Let's copy this and come to your terminal. Once you're done with the node 1, just log out from the node 1. Okay. Once you log out from the node 1, again you will come to the host operating system. From here onwards, let's take the SSH connection. Copy this time and download that file. See the ls and apply that script. Once the script is applied, start your node 2 practice. Right, in your exam, what you want to do, once you're done with your node 1, just log out, or you can simply close the terminal also. Okay, you can simply close your terminal in your exam once you're done with your node 1. So be node 2. Here one important instruction is, in your exam total days you will give 2 days. Total you will get the 2 days in the exam, not the 3 days. One is VDA and the second one is VDB. Remember one thing, don't make any changes on the VDA because the root file system is mounted with the VDA. Don't make any changes. Here in the node 2, we want to create the 2 partitions. One is the swap and the second one is the LVM. These 2 partitions we are creating under the VDB only. Okay, we can use the VDB to create our partitions. We are not going to make any changes in the VDA. So what is the first question in the node 2? So here the first question is, reset root user password and make it rooted. Reset the root user password and make that password as a rooted. This question where you want to answer? You want to answer this question in the node 2 console. So open the node 2 console. Copy. So once you enter inside the console, here you can see various options, right? Files, view and send key. Like those options you can see in your exam. You can see these options are, they will give you some icons. Okay, you can just check this. So once you click on this, the very first one here you can find the Control Alt Delete. Once you press the Control Alt Delete, here it will start rebooting your host. So in between that booting process, you need to interrupt your system. It means once you press the Control Alt Delete, start interrupting your system by using the navigation keys. Just hold any one navigation key. Okay, after pressing the Control Alt Delete, use any navigation keys to interrupt the system. Then it will stop your system in these 2 kernel lines. This is the grub menu. In these 2 kernel lines, it will stop your system. So once you got these 2 kernel lines, here I will show you this in my VM. Once you got these 2 kernel lines, here you can use up and down navigation keys to change the session. Okay, use up and down navigation keys. Here you need to select the second kernel, that is the rescue one in the version 9, and press Ctrl E to edit the session. Okay, sorry, press E to edit the session. Once you selected the kernel line, press E key in your keyboard to edit the session. Okay, once you press the E, then it will give you this prompt. In this prompt, you need to find the line which is started with the Linux. So here you have the third line which is started with the Linux. Once you come to that Linux, this time you need to come to the end of the line. So to come to the end of the line, simply you can press the end key in your keyboard, or you can press the Ctrl E in your keyboard. Once you come to the end of the line, for sometimes after this swap, it will miss this line RHGB space quit. In case this RHGB space quit is missed, you need to add this one. In case if it is there, you can add the another entry. Here what you want to add, rd dot break space console is equal to tty0. Okay, after RHGB space quit, what you want to add, rd dot break console is equal to tty0. Once you added this entry, press Ctrl X to start. Simply press the Ctrl X. So once you press the Ctrl X, it will take you through this prompt. Here press enter for the maintenance. Here it will ask you to enter into the maintenance mode. For that, what you want to do, press enter. You need to hit the enter key in your keyboard. Don't press Ctrl D to continue, then it will give you the normal prompt. So here you need to enter into the maintenance. For that, just hit the enter key in your keyboard. So now it will provide you one shell. Here you need to type some commands. The first one, you need to use mount space -o or remount comma rw space /sysroot. So with this command, it is going to remounting this sysroot partition. So once it is remounted, use chroot /sysroot. With this, it will enter into the chroot environment. Now you can use any of the command to create the password for the root user. Here I am using passwd stdin root, and whatever the password they given, you can use that password here and hit enter. Here you can see all the tokens updated successfully. It means the root password is successfully set. So once you created the password, here you need to create one file, one hidden file, that is /auto-reliable. Make sure you need to create this file. This is the empty hidden file. Touch space /auto-reliable. Okay. If you make any mistake while you are creating this file, if you make the spelling mistake or anything, it's not going to boot your system. Okay. Make sure auto-reliable. Check the spelling. Once you created this file, just exit 2 times, then it will exit, and once it is exited, automatically it will give the login prompt. Okay.
That console is mandatory, sir. That console TTY is equal to 0.
Yes.
Last time actually I couldn't break my this root login, and I couldn't answer all the questions.
That's mandatory.
Okay. RHEL 8 actually it's not there, right? Oh yeah, it's only in RHEL 9.
In all the RHEL systems you have that one. But without that also it will work. But the better, do the TTY. You need to define the terminal, what terminal you are using.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that
Yes,
second grep one we use in for RHEL 9, right?
Sorry?
Yeah. So second grep one we used to rd.break, right? I just use rd.break and I couldn't break that password actually.
Once you got the login prompt, log in with the user root and the password, whatever you set, use that password. Once you log into the machine, however you open the sh file in the node 1 and uncommented those 2 lines, permit root login and the password authentication, here also you need to do the same thing. Okay, once you uncommented and make it s, save and exit from that file and restart the service. Then close your console. From here onwards, we no longer require the console. Now open your terminal. Use SSH, root, and the IP. Whatever the IP they provided for your node 2, you can use the same IP. Now we are in the node 2. Okay. Is it clear? And here the second question is the same. Whatever you got in the node 1, the same question. Here you want to configure the repositories. So same, they will give you the 2 repository link, base OS and the app stream. Okay, you need to configure the repositories. Now let's come to this location /etm.repos.b directory. Get the file. You can take the file name whatever you want. Simply I am taking RHCSA.repo. Provide the description. RH124 here I am giving, and the name as base OS. The base URL. When it comes to the base URL, whatever the URL they provided in our question, we need to use the same URL. And the check, they will not provide any keys, and specified as a 0 and enabled 1, and likewise configure the another repo. The name as AppStream, the base URL, whatever the URL we have, copy and paste it. As 0, enable is equal to 1. That's it. That's about this question. Simply use yum repo list all. So both the repositories are configured and both the repositories are enabled. That's it. Clear with this question? And what is the next question here? Resize logical volume. Here they are asking you to resize one logical volume. Resize the logical volume mylv. That logical volume name is mylv. So that after the reboot, size should be in between 200 MB to 300 MB. Here they are asking you to resize one logical volume. That logical volume name is mylv. After you resized, if you rebooted the host, the size should be between the 200 MB to 300 MB. So first verify whether this LV was existed or not. For that you can simply use LVs. Okay, here we are able to seeing the LV, mylv, right? And also you can go with the df-th. Here you can see the LV is existed and it is formatted with the ext4 file system, and the current size of the LV is 150 and it is already mounted with the mylv mount point. Here what they are asking you to resize the LV between the 200 MB to 300 MB, right? So between 200 MB to 300 MB we can take the any range, like 220 we can take, 230, 250, 280, any range we can take. Okay, either they will ask you to resize between the range or they will ask you to resize exact size. You can use the same pattern. Okay, first you need to extend the LV. For that you can use LV extend -L for the logical size. Here you can give the exact size. Here I am taking 250 MB exact size I am taking. They are asking you to 250, 200 to 300. Here I am taking in between 250. So likewise, if they will ask you to extend the exact size 250, you can simply specify the 250. Don't add any plus or minus before the size, and copy the path of the LV. Okay, copy and paste the path of the LV. Now the LV is successfully extended. So once you extended the LV, we already know that we want to extend the file system as well. Here what is the file system they formatted? ext4. If you want to resize the ext4 file system, you can use the command as resize to fs and paste the complete path of the LV. Now if you go with the df-th again, here you can see the LV is resized between 200 to 300 MB. That's about this question. Is it clear? Okay, so what is the next question here? Add a swap partition. Here they miss the swap point, but in your exam clearly they will give you add a swap partition of 512 MB and mount it permanently. Here you want to create one swap partition with the 512 MB and mount that partition permanently. Okay, so here first you need to check what are the available disks we have in the system. For that you can use the lsplk. As you know, we have the only two disks, VDA and the VDB. We are not going to make any changes on the VDA. VDB we can use. Here you can see the size of this disk is 5 GB. Already we have the two partitions existed on this disk, so you don't need to touch these existing partitions. So here they are asking you to create the new partition with the swap. Okay, here you can use the fdisk editor or you can use the parted editor, but here I am using the fdisk editor. So use fdisk /dev vdp. Okay, just hit enter. If you know how to use this fdisk editor directly, you can start using that. If you don't know, just go with the help. Here you can go with the em help. So once you go with the help, here you require only few options. Here it will show you different options, but here you require only few options. One is add a new partition, that is en, and print the partition table, that is the t, that is the p, and the t change the partition type, that is the t. Okay, and along with this you require the w option to write and exit. Okay, write and exit. So here we want to create the new partition, use the option as cn to create the new partition. Okay, in your exam the disk they will give you, that is the GPT. Here the disk is in the MBR in this lab environment, but in your exam the disk is in the GPT. So by default it will take the primary, everything it will take the primary. So just hit enter. And the partition number here, it is allocating the 3 because already 2 partitions are existed. Depends upon the existing partitions, you will allocate the number for the new partition. Just hit enter. And the first sector, you are not going to add anything, just hit enter. But in the last sector, here you need to specify the size of your partition. Here, what is the size? They are asking, it's 512 MB. So use this format, plus size plus 512 MB. MB is capital M. Go with the print. Here one new partition is created. The partition type is in the Linux, but we want to use it for the swap. For that, what is the option we can use to change the partition type? T. Change the partition type. So by default, it will ask you to change the partition type for the newly created partition. That is the 3. Just hit enter. This time you need to add the code of your partition. Okay. Whenever it is asking the code, directly don't add the any code. Go with the list. For that, you can simply type the L for the list. So in the list, you need to find the code for the Linux swap 82. So as you know that disk is in the MBR in this lab environment, that's why it is showing the code as the 82. But in your exam environment, the disk is in the GPT. In that case, you can see the code as 19. Okay, code as 19. So here add the code 82. Once you added the code, just print. Here you can see that this type is partition type is changed to the Linux swap. Once it is changed, save and exit. So once you save and exit, use the partpro program to inform the disk changes to your Linux kernel. Now here you can see one new partition is created, VDB3. Okay, so far it is not using for the any purpose, right? So once you have the partition, this time you need to format this partition with the swap file system. For that, use the command as mkswap and specify the complete path of that partition /VDB3. So now once you formatted, okay, once you formatted with the file system, you need to turn on the swap. If you want to check the existing swap space, you can simply use the free space -m. This is the existing swap space. Now this time you can simply turn on the swap on that partition VDB3. Now if you go with the free space -m, here you can see the size is added. But what they are asking you to mount it permanently. It means you need to add this entry inside the fstab file, right? You need to add the entries inside the fstab file. So open the fstab file. Let's come to the end. In the fstab file, you can use the device path or you can use the UUID. The first entry, you can use the device path or you can use the UUID. Anything you can use. Here I am using the device path. So what is the device path? VDB3. Okay, VDB3. Use the tab or space. Anything you can use. Better go with the space. And the second entry, here we want to provide the mount point. But for the swap, we know we don't have any mount point, so simply add it as a swap. And the file system. What is the file system? Here you formatted with this partition. That is the swap file system. Use the swap, and rest of the 3 entries are the defaults 0 space 0. That's it. Now the swap space is permanently mounted. If you rebooted this host also, automatically it will turn on the swap by the systemd daemon. And also the better way is whenever you make the changes inside this file, reload all the daemons. But it's not necessary. It's not necessary, but better way is you can reload all the daemons. That's about this question. Are you clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Here the next one is create a logical volume. Here they are asking you to create one logical volume and mount that logical volume permanently. Okay, and we want to mount that permanently. Create the logical volume with the name wshare. Here they are asking you to create the logical volume. That logical volume name is the wshare by using the 50 PEs. By using the 50 PEs, they are asking you to create the logical volume from the volume group W. From the volume group W group. Consider each PE size of the volume group as 8 MB. Consider each PE size in the volume group as 8 MB. And mount it on /mnt wshare. This is the mount point with the file system vfat. With the file system vfat. Okay, so here we want to create one logical volume. That logical volume name is the W share by using the 50 Ps. But if you want to create the logical volume, first you should have the volume group. So first verify you should have the volume group or not. So that volume group is not created. This question you need to create it from the scratch. Okay. So first you need to create the partition. So use /dev vdb. Okay, and go with the new partition. So here it is asking for the extended, but we want the primary. But in your exam, by default, you will take the primary. In the first sector, you are not add anything, just hit enter. But in the last sector, you need to specify the size of your partition. If you observe the question here, they specified the PE, physical extent, for the logical volume. Here they are not specified any size, how much you take for your partition. So by default, take it as 1 GB, 1 G. Just print. Here one partition is created, the type is in the Linux, but we want to use it for the LVM. So we need to change the type of the partition. Go with the T and the fourth one and the list. Find the code in this list. 8E is the code in the MBR, but in the GPT it is 31. Okay, 8E, print, it is changed. Save these changes and use the part code. Okay, use the part code. Now one partition is created. See that you have the partition. So once you have the physical partition, you need to format it as a physical volume. So use pv create and specify the path of that partition, vdb4. Now you have the physical volume. So far the physical volume is not mapped with the any volume group. So this time we need to create the volume group. But what they are saying, each PE size in the volume group should be the 8 MB. Whether they given the 8 MB, 16 MB or 13 MB, you can use the same pattern. Okay, VG create. What happened?
This conference will now be recorded.
So here we have the PV. It was not mapped with the any volume group. So here what they are asking, each PE size in the volume group has 8 MB. So whether it's the 8 MB, 16 MB, you can follow the same pattern. Use VG create -s for the size 8 MB. Okay. And what is the volume group name they are asking? W group is our volume group name. And what are the PVs you are using to create? We are using this one PV to create this volume group name. Now if you go with the VGs, here the volume group is created. Okay, if you want to see the more information about this volume group, you can go with the PG display volume group. Here you can see each PE size is in the 8 MB. Now this time we can create the logical volume. So here what is the logical volume name? The logical volume name is the W share. By using the 50 Ps, they are asking to create. Whether they are asking the 50 Ps, 60 Ps or the 57 Ps, you can use the same pattern. Use LV create. Okay, LV create -n for the name of the logical volume. Here the name of the logical volume is the W share. So before we'll give you the capital L for the exact size of the logical volume, right? So here I am using the small l. Okay, what is the PE they are asking? 50 PEs. So simply you can use the 50 and specify that volume group name. If the logical volume is created, you can go with the LVs. Here the size is 400 MB. How it will be the 400 MB? The system will going to calculate the number of PEs with the each PE in the volume group. Then it will be the 400 MB. So either you can calculate each PE size, okay, each PE size with number of PVs, and you can give the exact size by using the -n, or you can simply use the -small l, then automatically the system will calculate this one. Once you have the logical volume, we need to format it with the file system. What is the file system? Here they are asking vfat. Whether it will be the vfat or the ext43 anything, you can use the mkfs dot l system name and specify the complete path of your LV. That is W share. Now it is formatted with the vfat file system, and we need to create the mount point. And what is the mount point here they're asking? /mnt wshare is the mount point. mkdir. Mount point is created. Now mount it. Use mount /dev wgroup wshare /mnt wshare. Now you go with the df-th. The LV is mounted with the /mnt wshare mount point, and also it's using the bfat file system with the 400 MB size. With this, the LV is created, but they are asking you to mount it permanently. So add this entry into the fstab file. How you can add this entry? Copy this LV path. Simply copy this LV path. Okay. Open the fstab file. /etc fstab. So once you open this file, first one paste your LV path. Here the next entry you want to give the mount point. Here the mount point is /mnt wshare is our mount point. And the file system, what is the file system here you used? We used the vfat, and the 3 entries are the defaults 0 space 0. Exit. Now save and exit. In these two questions, if you give any wrong entries, there is a possibility you can lose your exam. If you give any wrong entries under this fstab file. Okay. System must be boot. If the system is not booted, definitely you will lose your exam. Because once you done your exam, the proctor will review your system. At the time, these two VMs must be came up. In case any of the reason, if any one VM is not came up, you lost your exam. Okay. Just give me a moment. Okay. And you don't have this question about the video in the version 9. And the last question of this go to is this one. Configure system tuning. This is the very simple question. Choose the recommended tune profile for your system and set that profile as a default profile. So here they are asking you to choose one recommended profile. They will recommend you one profile. You can just check that profile. What is that profile they are asking you to? Asking in the recommended profile and set that profile as a default profile. So simply here you can use tune-adm act. First you can verify what is an active profile. This is the active profile. Now verify that what is the recommended profile here they are asking. Here the recommended profile is virtual guest. Now we need to set this profile as a default profile. How you can set? Use tune-adm profile, and this is the profile. Copy and paste it. So this time this profile is set as a default profile. That's about this question. First you need to verify what is an active profile, current active profile. Then you need to go with the recommended profile. What is the recommended profile? Then set that profile as a default profile, and finally verify that whether that profile is set as a default profile or not. That's about the note 2. Now do you have any questions on this? Okay, so we left the one container question, right? We'll have the two container questions here in the node 1. So these questions you can practice in your own VMs. In the lab systems you cannot practice these questions. Okay, first let me log into my host.
This conference will now be recorded.
You will get the two container questions in your exam. The two questions you want to answer in the node 1. Okay, node 1 you will get these two questions. What is the two questions here? Here the first question is create a container image from the provided link. Here they are asking you to create one container image. They will give you one link. Inside this link you have one file, that is the container file. You don't need to build this file, already the file is created and that file will be available under this link. Okay, you need to download this file to your local system. Named it as monitor. This is your container image name. You need to name this container image as the monitor with the user Athena. So you need to build this container image with the user Athena, right? So first what we want to do, we need to verify whether this user was existed or not. Here the user will exist in the system. So ID Athena. Here the user is existed. So once the user is existed, you need to log in this user with the SSH. So currently you are in the root user. You are performing all your actions with the root user. For this question, you need to log in with the Athena user. For that, what you want to do, use SSH and the Athena @ simply use the local host. When you use the local host, within the same host it will log in. So while you are logging to this user, it is not prompting you for the any password, because for this user already the passwordless authentication is created, right? So once you log into this user, this time what you want to do, whatever the link they will give you in your question, you can copy that link and use the duplicate command, okay, and paste that link, and once you hit the enter, it will download that file to your local system. But here we don't have this file, in the link, that's why I am creating. So here the container file, the first letter should be the uppercase, just hit enter, and the data, this we want to copy inside this file. Okay, I will provide this file also for your practice. Now once you hit the enter here, duplicate and the link, once you hit the enter, you can just go with the ls, you can see the file. Here the file is available. This time you need to build the container image. So here what is the container runtime we have existed in the Linux host, that is the Podman. So use Podman build, okay, -t, type of the container image. Here what is the type they are asking? Here the type they are asking, it is a monitor, okay. But if you want to build the container image, first we need to log into the container registry, okay. If you want to build the container image, first we need to log into the container registry. So use Podman login, and in your exam whatever the registry they will give you, you can log in that registry, but here I am logging to the different registry. Once you hit the enter, just provide your credentials, whatever they will give you. Okay. So once you log into the registry, here you can see the output login succeed. Okay. So once you log in, use Podman build -t for the type of the container image. Here the type of the container image is the monitor, and -f. Here you need to pass the path of your container file, where your container file is locating. By default, the container file we download into the user home directory, and we are also in the user home directory, right? So simply you can add the dot. In the current location the file is available. Now it will start building that container image. Okay, here it is built this container image. Here you can see successfully tagged localhost monitor, and also if you want to see that image, you can use Podman images, right? This is the image, localhost, and your image name monitor. Now with this, the first question will be done in the container. So once you've done this question, you can simply log out from this user and again come to the root. This time let's come to the second question. Here what is the second question? Create a rootless container. Here we want to create the rootless container and do the volume mapping which they ask you in the question. Okay, here you want to create one rootless container and we want to do the volume mapping whatever they are asking in the question, and run container as a service, and also we want to run that container as a service from the normal user account. From the normal user account, we want to run that container as a service. The service must be enabled so it could start automatically after reboot. And that service must be enabled. Then only the service can automatically start at the reboot. So whatever the user you use to build the container image, with the same user this time, you need to build the container as well. You need to deploy the container as well. Okay. Create a container named as ASCII2PDF. Here you want to create the container. That container name is ASCII2PDF using the previously created container image from the previous question monitor. So this is the dependency. If you are not building this image, you cannot answer this question. Okay, whatever the image you built in the previous question, you need to use the same image here. Okay, that's fine. This is the container name here they given. And map the /opt process to container /opt outgoing. Here we want to do the volume mapping also, right? Here they will give you the two volumes. Map the /opt process to container /opt outgoing, and map the /opt files to container /opt incoming. If you see these volumes here, the volume name is processed outgoing files incoming. These four volumes they are asking you to create under the /opt locations. Okay, these four volumes should be inside the /opt. By default, only the root user having the access to the root file system. That's why we log outed from this user and we came to the root again. Now let's change your directory to the /opt. Okay, here we have the nothing. Create those four volumes. There those volumes: processed files and incoming outgoing. Okay, once you created these four volumes, just hit the ls space -l. Here you can see by default these volumes are created by the root user. The ownership and the group ownership is the root user, but we want to map these volumes with the normal user. The normal user wants to access this location. The normal user should have the privileges on these files and the directories, right? Now change the owner and the group ownership. Use ch1 -R recursively for the every file and directory under the opt. Use username group name. That is /opt. I want to change for the everything. Now you can see all the volumes are changed the owner and the group ownership. So once you change the owner and the group ownership for the every volume under the /opt, again log in that Athena user with the SSH. So once you log in, this time we have the container image and the volumes. Now we can ready to deploy the container, right? If you want to deploy the container, you can use Podman run -d to run the container in the detached mode, -it for providing the interactive terminal for the container, -name to allocate the name for the container. Here what is the name they are asking you to add for the container? That is the ASCII2PDF. Okay, now with this it is going to build the container, but here we want to add the volumes also. If you want to add the volumes, you can use -v for adding the volumes. And what is the volumes they are asking you to map? Map the /opt process to container /opt outgoing. So /opt processed :/opt outgoing. Okay, capital Z. The capital Z is for the SELinux context label. If you are not provided this capital Z, it's not going to, the container cannot access these volumes. Remember that. With this, one volume is attached. Likewise, add the another volume -v /opt files :/opt incoming capital Z for this volume. By end, add your container image. Now go with the Podman PS. Here you have one container. Okay, here we have the one container, right? So once you deployed the container, what is the final step they are asking? Create a systemd service as container ASCII2PDF.service. Here they are asking you to create the service for the container. So if you want to create the service, first you should create one directory under the user home directory. We use mkdir -p .config and the systemd /user. By default, all your service configuration files in your system will be stored under the HCT systemd system directory. Okay, that is for the global location. But when it comes to the user level, that is the .config systemd and the user. So once you created this directory, now get inside this user directory. Now currently we are inside the user directory. So far here we don't have the any file. This time we need to generate the service configuration file for the container. Okay, so use Podman generate systemd name of the container ASCII2 PDF --new --files. So with this you are sending the request to your Podman to generate the new service files with the systemd. Now hit enter, hit the ls, say this the service file is generated. The same file they are asking you to generate, right? The service file is generated. So the very first time if you are generating this service file, you need to reload the daemons in this user account. For that use systemctl -user. Here you must specify the -user while you are using the systemctl in the user level account. So reload the daemons. The daemons are reloaded. Now you can start and enable the container service. Use systemctl -user enable -now the container.service. Okay, now the service is started, and once the service is started you can just verify that the service is active and running. Okay, and once you started this service, you can just enable the another parameter, that is loginctl enable linger and specify that username. So with this it will log in one parameter inside the user configurations. Let's compare this one. Loginctl show user Athena. Okay, here we have one parameter linger that will be by default no. When you use this command loginctl enable linger and the username, it will be the yes. Now once you change this configuration, finally restart the container once. Now check the status of the container. Now the container is up and running. So that's about this question. Okay, with this your EX200 exam preparation is completed.